And now it's time for the sponsor perspective portion of our program. For this next conversation, I'd like to invite Daniel Miller, Senior Vice President of Pharmacy Regulatory Affairs at Rite Aid, Elizabeth Campbell, Senior Vice President and Group General Counsel at AmerisourceBergen, Chester Davis, President and CEO of the Association for Accessible Medicines, and joining them is Tammy Wincup, Chief Operating Officer at EVERFI. Tammy, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being with us this morning. EVERFI is so honored to be sponsoring this opportunity for a really important conversation about what is happening in our communities and that what can bring us together in those conversations. As a leading education technology organization, we have been at the crossroads of prevention education at a population level for more than a decade. And about a year ago, we began to take that work and create what is now known as the Prescription Drug Safety Network. And we began to look out on the scene and recognize that while there was a ton of data and information upstream about rescue and treatment, there was very little networking of us coming together across our communities, looking at what truly prevention education might look like. And so we created the Prescription Drug Safety Network with that prevention in mind. And I'm proud that a year later, we have more than 20 organizations across the ecosystem that are now coming together in an effort to create prevention education in our country. And we have today 3 organizations in that ecosystem that are all doing different pieces and want you to be able to have that conversation of what that looks like in your different worlds. So Dan, let me start with you. Rite Aid, tell me what you think a comprehensive strategy might look like and what you're currently working on.
So I think a comprehensive strategy it obviously involves retail pharmacy, but it also involves advocacy groups, healthcare professionals, even law enforcement and lawmakers, most importantly. And we all have to collaborate and communicate together to really make sure that we execute on some workable options here in a serious situation. And the Rite Aid company, obviously, I'm a pharmacist. I know what a pharmacist knowledge base is. They're so accessible within the community to help around medication. Obviously, they know what the therapeutic benefits are for medicines, but they also know what the adverse effects are and the combination therapies and concerns around those. So they're a great source within the community to assist, and we have to make sure we use these individuals. So we have a responsibility at Rite Aid to ongoing training of our pharmacists to around opioids and Suboxone and naloxone. Naloxone, all of our pharmacists are now trained to provide that to patients, caregivers, and family members if needed, and explain how that works. We also support the CDC guidelines that really talk about making sure we have some limits in place for acute medication dispensing and control that in some cases. And we make sure that our pharmacists have an encounter with every patient that gets an opioid prescription, and we continue to upgrade our systems here to make it easier for the pharmacist and the patient encounter. And so they get a little leaflet that explains what the medication's for so that they understand how serious this medicine is and what's it mean to take this. And once the pain subsides, what do you do with the remainder of the medication and dispose of that appropriately. And then we also talk about the fact that we do have naloxone available. So we work at the point of engagement within the stores and with the patients that is obviously very, very critical to us. And then we have the resource of the Prescription Drug Monitoring Program, which lets our pharmacists go out and assess some patients that they maybe don't know that come to their pharmacy frequently, and they can see if they're shopping multiple pharmacies or multiple prescribers to help make the right professional decision and talk that over with the patient and prescriber if necessary. So that's some of the activities within the store, but we also reach out within the community, and we're very proud of this. So we have a Rite Aid Foundation that has committed money for different reasons here, and we put in a medication disposal system within law enforcement. And we went to 18 states, and we have a robust website that law enforcement can sign on and get a take-back kiosk within their police station. And we fully fund that so that they have the ability to take care of the individuals within the community to dispose of the medicine. And then for the sake of EVERFI, we've done very, very well as far as an education tool now that we can go out into the high school systems and educate our youth and make sure that they're aware of the concerns around these medicines very, very early on and really address some of the issues that are out there. So it's been great for this partnership, and we kind of hope that that collaboration will help us expand this network so that we can do more things within the community.
Perfect. Elizabeth, AmerisourceBergen, what does the strategy look like from your perch?
Well, first of all, let me just explain a little bit about who AmerisourceBergen is. AmerisourceBergen is a wholesaler and a logistics provider. That means that we take FDA-approved medication from manufacturers and we provide it to pharmacies who then dispense that medication pursuant to valid prescription. So first of all, just important for people to understand sort of our role in the supply chain. We have a very unique role. So our approach is it's multifaceted, first of all, and it's multi-pronged. We think that collaboration is incredibly important. No one can do this alone. We need to do it together. We believe that states and the federal government, industry, all of us together must collaborate. One of the challenges that the wholesalers have had in the past is the limited availability of data. So we've been advocating for greater sharing of data across the industry. Now on our outward reaching efforts, we have again a multifaceted approach, but sort of two-prong: safe disposal and education. Safe disposal, someone mentioned earlier today, actually several people have mentioned that disposal can be a problem. There's a lot of drugs that are remaining in people's medicine cabinets that are just out there that people don't know what to do with, and then those are taken and abused. And so we've been partnering through our foundation to provide drug take-back and deactivation bags to municipalities. And then we've also partnered with EVERFI through the foundation, AmerisourceBergen Foundation. We have a program in Ohio where we're providing education about prevention and abuse to middle school students. And we're also really excited that we are just going to do an additional program in Florida.
Perfect. Chip, our first partner in the Prescription Drug Safety Network, you're focused on colleges with us. Talk about what you think the comprehensive solution looks like for your members.
Sure, Tammy, and thanks both to EVERFI and the Hill for the opportunity to join you this morning on obviously an issue that impacts all of us very, very personally first and foremost. But then I think what you've heard on this panel and in all the other speakers is sort of the importance of an all-in approach, right? And we didn't get here overnight, and it's going to take the collective effort of everybody within the system. That includes industry. There's a lot of talk, and has been rightfully so, about provider education and training and greater awareness. We felt over a year ago that perhaps not as much of a focus on patient education and awareness and potential patient education and awareness. And that's an important distinction as well. And so in the discussions that we had with EVERFI, and again, I work for the Association for Accessible Medicines. By way of background, we represent generic and biosimilar manufacturers. Our commitment is very simple. We want to make sure that patients have access to safe, effective, and affordable medicines. And I underscore the last issue because right now our members are providing, believe it or not, 89% of all prescriptions in the United States, but doing it for only 1/4 of total cost. So we're big believers, as our name suggests, in making sure patients have access to medicine. But increasingly within this epidemic, we also want to make sure that there is not inappropriate access to medicine. And we need to reduce the misuse, as the term is often used. So in looking at that and looking at a place to start, having had a working relationship with EVERFI and knowing that their core competency and excellence is in things like sexual assault prevention, abuse, and alcohol abuse on college campuses, we thought there'd be an opportunity to develop a similar program online and make it available to incoming college freshmen. Probably to no surprise for anybody, and I went to college back just after the bicentennial, so longer than I want to admit. But the reality is you have an unbelievable amount of autonomy at that time. And that is both, that creates opportunity, but it also creates some vulnerability. And there was a study done in 2015 that showed that more than 1 out of every 10 college students had admitted back in 2015 that they were using pain medicines for non-medical reasons. So think about, you know, your network of friends in college and how many within that network would potentially be at risk. So we developed this online module leveraging the intellectual capital and expertise of EVERFI, and then offered it free to colleges and universities across the country. Tens of thousands, and we started with incoming freshmen, again, because of the vulnerability there. Tens of thousands, this just started this fall, began and have taken the program. It has expanded through K through 12, as you've heard, and others have joined into the program, which is great, because incoming college freshmen are not the only vulnerable population. But one of the things that we also need to make sure of moving forward is that that module, that training module, is then put into practice. And so there are metrics associated with the online program, and 75% of the students that have taken it have reported 2 things that are really important. One, that they are better equipped to sort of know the signs and be aware that they may have a friend or a colleague or somebody who they may be concerned about. And secondarily, and equally important, that it is empowering them to understand on their own college or university campus where they can go if they're impacted by this, or where they can go and seek help for somebody that they care about. So I think on both of those fronts, it's been a really important partnership. When I speak at other events, like in front of the attorneys general or governors, various regional governor associations, there's a lot of talk on the system level about drug costs overall, so we have a lot of discussions around that. But we make sure that when we're talking to government officials, that we let them know about this program because it's free to the colleges and universities in their home state. And so we ask them to actually be ambassadors to take this back home and make sure that the awareness of this program is available to the university and college leaders in their states.
Perfect. I think in that short period of time, what you've heard is just a moment of what each of us have the opportunity to do together for our young people to be sure that this is not a taboo topic, but something that they are engaged on. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thanks.